Let's start, I guess. Welcome to the third session of TalkMaster 2024. Myself, Shreyas. I'm one of the conveners at We Speak, the speaking arts clubs of IIT Bombay. Welcome you all here today as we continue our journey of mastering the art of communication. Well, before we start, let me introduce you to our club, We Speak. It's all about promoting love for public speaking and debating. Our club has achieved some pretty amazing things earlier. We were the first Indian team to make it to the finals of Asian Parliamentary Debate. We have reached the World University Debating Championship, ESL final. But more importantly, we are a community that's passionate about helping everyone become better communicators. And our session like this today are big part of it. Today, we are delighted to have none other than Mr. Sairaj Dhond sir with us. He's an inspiring entrepreneur and a dynamic speaker whose whose remarkable journey uh, whose remarkable journey from law to business innovation has captured attention of many. You might remember Sairaj's unforgettable speech on famous Shark Tank India, where he emerged as a winner. He also won at ETMM E-Summit of IIT Bombay, which showcases exceptional presentation and communication skills. Many of us, including myself, are fascinated about startups, and some might even aspire to build career as an emerging entrepreneur. But one of the most important skill in the journey is ability to present and communicate your ideas effectively to let it be your teammates or your investors. And who better to teach us than Sairaj sir himself, the winner of Young Entrepreneurship Award at Business World Disrupt. During the session, Sairaj sir will guide us about the importance of communication and entrepreneurship, drawing insight from his past experience. He will provide practical and valuable strategies and techniques to help us master the art of communication. And one more thing, just to make the session more interactive, we will request everyone to please turn on your camera. It will really help everyone to connect us better. So without further ado, let's give a big warm welcome to Mr. Sairaj sir. Sairaj sir, stage is yours.
Hi guys. Sorry, my laptop just crashed on me. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we can start now. Yeah, we can start now.
You finished the whole intro part? Good.
Yes.
Great. So thanks for having me over. I was in IIT Bombay a few months ago, and I enjoyed your campus and the hospitality that you guys had given us. So this is the ESL. What is the group of students that are here? Who are the group? What are the students? Part of which group?
Speaking art clubs of IIT Bombay. Most of the students are looking forward to improve their communication.
Okay. So these are all students who would like to speak and who want to learn how the art of speaking effectively and who like speaking. It's more like a TalkMasters group. Yeah. Okay. Superb.
Yes.
So the topic that you had given me or you had suggested we do is let me first read the topic. Speak to succeed. The power of communication in entrepreneurship. Correct? Okay. First things first, I never like to, so I normally don't do any online meetings or any online sessions. I just don't do. And the singular reason for that is that no one puts on their cameras and it's like I'm talking to a dead wall. Now I can see only Shreyas and I think I'm talking only to you. So our effective communication is just between you and me. With the rest, it is ineffective communication. Like I don't know who else is there. I have no faces to anybody. So that's a big demotivating factor. Thank you. Now I'm feeling much better. At least two pretty girls have put on their cameras. So I don't see any reason why. So wherever you may be sitting, see, I have no problem. I'm sitting in my office, but I'm very happy to look at faces and to talk with people. Okay. So let's start. All those who feel like putting on their cameras can put them on later on. So first of all, I'll give you a short introduction of who I am and what I do. I'm Sairaj Dhond. I'm the founder and CEO of Wakao Foods. We are India's first jackfruit company. We do products using the superfood jackfruit. So a lot of people don't know something about me, and that is that I am a lawyer by education. I studied law for 5 years. I practiced law for 1 year. And one of the most important reasons why I wanted to do law was because I liked speaking. And that was something that I really like doing. I like communicating with people. And that is the reason why I'm here today also. So I go and I travel a lot. I speak at a lot of colleges and a lot of institutions uh, because I enjoy communicating and talking with people. Uh, so how is this whole thing? How important is it for an entrepreneur to be good at communicating, to be good at speaking? How important is it? It's very, very important. So I keep telling everybody, and I have heard this from people who are very good entrepreneurs also. The most important quality of an entrepreneur is to be a great storyteller. Most of your life, all that you're doing is telling stories. As an entrepreneur, your job is to convince people. So you are either telling great stories to your investors, you're telling great stories to your customers, your consumers, you're telling great stories to your colleagues, to people who work with you. Everything in your life will be about storytelling. It is how you can convince them to your final goal, how you convince them to do what you want them to do, how you convince your customer to buy your product. Sales is all about communication, and that's the most important thing for an entrepreneur. So let's start from our journey from the start. When we enter school, we are always there sitting quietly in one corner. We are afraid of what's going to come. We are very confused sometimes as to what's going to happen next in our lives. It's the same thing for an entrepreneur. When you enter this world of entrepreneurship, you have a great idea. You have a product, or you have an idea to build a product. But how do you go ahead with it? How do you make things move? And I keep telling this to all students, and I'll come first to that part. Let's first address that. And I'll start with a small story. And I tell this story quite often, and I want to tell that to you all as well here, because this makes a lot of sense and it gives a lot of perspective to what we are talking. So I was in the 11th standard, and I studied in this higher secondary school called Mustifat Higher Secondary. And we had a professor by the name Mr. Sai Shabu, and he used to teach us English. And I would like to believe that I was his favorite student, and he for sure is my favorite professor, someone who I always remember throughout my journey. So he had a very unique way of teaching English. He had a very different way of doing things. So he used to not go by the normal curriculum. He used to come and he did this. So he used to come and do something really not normal, very unique. So one day he entered class. He stood there on the bench, on the table, on the podium, and he said he looked at the crowd. And he's, by the way, he's the only professor who called me with my pet name. He used to address me as Sai. So he stood there. He looked. He turned on the notice board, on the blackboard. He wrote a topic, a small topic. He turned at the entire class, looked at me, and he said, "Sai, come and talk on this topic." It was just like that. And I looked at him and I was like, shit, is he serious? Like, immediately come and talk. So I stood up and I started walking towards the stage. And that was the day that I learned the art to think while walking, and just think at the moment. As I reached the stage, I honestly did not know exactly what I was going to say, but I knew the topic. I had just thought of two, three lines in my head, two, three thoughts. I stood there and I just expressed myself. And that day was a turning point in my life, because there were two things that happened with the crowd. One was each one of them were so thankful that he had not pointed his finger towards them. They didn't want to go and do this. And the second thing was they were really inquisitive and curious to see how I react and what am I going to do now. Abhi ye bakra mil gaya, abhi ye kya karega? So I went there, I spoke, and that gave me tremendous confidence. That was the day that told me that you can do anything. You can just stand and talk anywhere. You can, if you are confident, you can do anything. And this kept on happening lecture after lecture. Whenever he did that, I was always the first person to be called. And that gave me a very important lesson in life. How many of y'all, and I don't want y'all to raise, and obviously I can see none of y'all, I can only see Ragini and Shreyas. But how many of y'all, I would want y'all to think to yourself, how many of y'all would be comfortable doing that if you were just called suddenly, given a topic and said, come on the stage and talk in front of a crowd? Could be nerve-wracking, right? It's not that everybody would be confident. Very rarely would you find someone who said that, okay, I'll also do it. And okay, but what about those who cannot do it, or who say that I won't want to do it? You know why that happens? If you ask me, I can today stand in front of Mr. Narendra Modi also and speak if I'm asked to. That is something that I have learned over the years. I've built this confidence. But you know why it happened and why it's not happening with the many of you all? One fundamental mistake that we do in life. We take ourselves too seriously. We are too touchy about ourselves. If someone says something to us, we are affected so badly by it. We really are very serious. अरे उसने मुझे ऐसे बोला ही कैसे? क्यों मुझे ऐसे बोला? How could he say this to me? Why is he laughing at me? We are too touchy about these things. We take ourselves too seriously. It is time that you guys stop taking yourselves seriously. Don't worry. Don't care what someone is saying to you. Don't be dependent on how someone else may react to you. The minute you get off this whole load of expectation and wanting to please someone, or what that guy is going to say about me, or what she's saying about me, you'll realize that the world is a whole different playground. Your confidence levels will peak to another extent. You'll then feel ki main kidhar. See, if you don't care what someone's going to even think about you or what kind of judgment they're going to make about you, you won't really be afraid of standing anywhere and talking or doing anything, right? It suddenly builds a different confidence in you. And I think that is the time you are a changed person. And if you get that within yourself, it's going to change the game for you. So, first things before we get into anywhere of entrepreneurship, first thing, build your self confidence. Forget what anyone may say to you. Don't worry about that. People will respect you and salute you if you go there and make a brave stand by just standing and talking. So, that's the first thing you need to know. Now, how do you learn the art of speaking? Does it come very naturally? Are you a born speaker? Do you uh, suddenly, no one comes out of their mother's stomach a born speaker, right? No one can just come and become a great speaker. There's only one way of doing it, and that is regular practice. You keep doing it day after day, day after day, day after day, and you'll see you're a changed person. What does it do? It builds mainly 2 or 3 things. One is that it builds, like I said, your confidence. You forget all that stage fright, yeah, whoa. It's all rubbish. It's all rubbish. It's all here. How many of you, I don't know now again, how many of y'all matlab koi haath dikhega nahi mujhe. But many of y'all would have seen my pitch at IIT Bombay at that what was it called? Just 10 minutes to 10 minutes.
10 minutes million. The
Yeah.
10 minutes million.
So it was a crowd of close to 3,500 people screaming, cheering. You could directly get booed, you could get yelled. So, there were nerves that were acting. And don't mistake me for saying that it's not that I don't feel nervy. It's not that I don't feel a little jittery. I don't feel overwhelmed, scared. All of those are normal emotions, and I feel all of them. But that doesn't take away the fact that I need to go there and put up my best show because this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Always remember, every customer that you speak to is an opportunity of a lifetime. You have to put your best show on. So, uh, another very important thing that practice does, doing it regularly, is that it improves your skills with words. It improves your game with words and how you can think on the spot, how you can articulate things in a better way. So the more you do it, the more you talk, the more times you stand on stage and you do different things, you try and communicate with other people, you'll realize that it changes, it improves, makes you confident, and also improves the way you talk and address people. You also learn from people. The most important thing also about communication is, to be great listeners. Communication is not one-way traffic where only you keep talking. So what happens when you communicate often with people, when you talk often with people, when you interact often with people, is that you also learn a lot of new skills from them. New skills of communication, how you react to certain situations, how you interact in certain situations, what's the best way to address certain situations. These are all learnings. This happen over a period of time. But unless you do it, unless you jump there, it's never going to happen. And in life, I've learned one thing, and I've learned it the hard way. That is, if you want to say something to someone, if you want to communicate to someone, just go ahead and do it. A lot of times we procrastinate with a lot of things, but even with this we procrastinate कि अगर कल कोई खड़ा है और मुझे उससे बात करना है. कल श्रेयस ने एक बहुत अच्छा टॉक दिया. And one thing that I always say is that the easiest thing that you should have on your tongue, which you keep saying, is thank you. It's always the best thing to do is to show gratitude to people. So for the slightest of things. So if Shreyas has given a lovely talk and I feel like, wow, I've learned a lot from this, go out there, tell Shreyas, yeah, I really loved your talk. You were really good. Thank you so much. It'll make him feel nice. It'll also help you break the ice and communicate. So I'll tell you a story that happened with me, an instance, and this is a real life thing. So Ratan Tata is someone that I really look up to. I love the brand Tata, the way they are, the ethos, the how humane a brand they are. So one day I was at Taj Mahal Palace, Kulaba, and someone had invited me for tea. So I don't go to these expensive places to eat by myself. Only if I'm invited, I go. Just giving you all a warning about that. So I was there, and at the Porsche, I saw Mr. Ratan Tata waiting for his vehicle. And this is like a few years ago, like 5, 6 years ago, maybe more. And I got really excited. I wanted to speak to this man. I've always wanted to speak to him. He's just right here in front of me. Should I go? Should I not go? There were people around him. He was waiting. I started thinking. And by the time I could make up my mind and go, his car arrived, he sat and he left. And I felt so miserable. I felt bad. Why didn't I go speak to him? He was right there. That moment went, that opportunity went. And unfortunately, till now, I haven't spoken or met him again. 1 minute, huh? So I'll take questions a little later. We'll keep for that. Someone has sent me a question. Darsh. Yeah, we'll take your questions. So, so I waited to talk to him, and he went. So that passed, and I decided next time I'll try and go and meet him, talk to whoever I want to. A few months later, I had another opportunity in another hotel where I saw Mr. Narayan Murthy. Again, someone who was really impressed, and I really liked the personality of the person. So I was waiting there in the corridor, and again, I took those 2 seconds to think whether I should go on thinking, and he suddenly disappeared. And this time I was really pissed with myself. I said, you can't be such a chicken. You can't be so scared every time. Why are you chickening out? What's the problem in going and speaking to him? And I was really upset. And I went to the loo. And when I went to the loo, I saw a short person, much shorter than me, standing there and washing his hands. It was Narayan Murthy. And I said, okay, this is my opportunity. And I'm now, screw it. I went and I stood behind him. And he turned and he looked at me and he said, yes. I said, sir, I just wanted to tell you that I really like you, and I'm really inspired by you. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And he looked at me and said, Thank you. You're a very kind man. Thank you. He called me kind and he left. And that thing, I'm telling you, that moment, it changed almost everything for me. It just made me realize that we just need to go and communicate with people. We need to talk to them and see how it is. There's no harm in walking up to anybody and talking to them, however big the person may be. So that my friends, I want you all to really be very clear in this, that don't be afraid, don't be shy, go up there and communicate with people. So yeah, so this is how life is. It will give you opportunities, and it is then up to you how you communicate, how you interact with people and take it forward. So I think when you become an entrepreneur, there are a lot of other things that come into the fray there. Right from the start, okay, let's start as an entrepreneur's journey. The first thing what you need to do is you need to convince people to join your team. Correct? You need to get people onboarded with you. You need to clearly communicate with them what is your vision. So that is where the first step of communication comes. How do you communicate a product which is on paper or an idea which is on paper to people? And that's where I always tell people that clarity of thought is very important before you start communicating. You need to know very clearly what you want to talk about. So you need to have your pointers laid down. You need to write down and be very clear of what is the idea, what are the points that you want to communicate, how you want to talk to them. And then you have to, it's always nice to create a story around anything. Always remember that. Whenever you tell anyone anything, there has to be, it's like reading a book. When you read a book, you get into a different world of your own, right? You create, imagine a world. So if there's a house, you create, imagine that house will look like this, the roads are like this, the lanes are like this is what is happening. So when you communicate with someone, or when you're storytelling, or when you're telling a story, you have to, the other person has to start imagining of how that whole thing is and what is happening, and that's when you get them dragged into your story. People never buy products or a service, they always buy stories. Always remember this. People will get associated with you if they connect with you or connect with the story of the brand, and that's very hard. So just related, I've got a question, so I'll answer it directly. How can I convince you to join my team? Convince me. How can I convince you to join my team? I know it's hard, but that's why I'm asking you. Who is this person? Unknown person. I send a message. How? Oh, Darshan.
I guess he's asking how can he convince you so that he can join your team?
To join my team.
Yeah, join what?
You'll have to tell me a story, man, of what you're going to do for. So yeah, so simple. So okay, I'll answer this also right now, because a lot of people ask us uh, who want to work with us, who want to join us. They keep sending us. We get a lot of CVs. You know, one thing I always tell people is, and I ask them to write, send me a one pager of how you want to add value to Wakao. Now you know what Wakao is, right? And there are so many channels of Wakao, how you do what you do. So I want to know more than your qualifications, more than what is your education background. Okay, kudos to you all. You guys are IIT Bombay, one of the smartest kids in India. But the person from this misunderstood my question. I want you to work with my startup. अरे श्रेयस मैंने सही समझा था तूने misunderstand किया. He wants me to work with him on his startup. He or she, I don't know who it is. ठीक है, write to me at sairaj@wakaofoods.com. Let's see if yours is that good a startup. I will think. So yeah, so okay. So someone is asking me, can you give an example that? Okay, so let's just do this. Let's take questions. Shiraz, is this okay? Let's just take questions and let's keep the flow going. Yeah. So I'll keep whatever questions are coming here. I'll keep taking questions, and we'll.
We can ask them to unmute if you want.
So yeah, man. I really I don't like this the way it is going. That everyone's like on dark screen and someone is sending a question. I'd rather like to interact with people, but I leave it to you all. I can't force you all.
Yeah,
But
now they can ask the question directly.
yeah, I think Ragini is asking. Ragini, is this the same Ragini? Then you can ask the question directly. Let others hear what you have to say.
हेलो सर।
Hi, Ragini.
सर, आपने अभी बोला कि किसी को भी कन्विंस करने के लिए, अपने टीम में लाने के लिए एक स्टोरीज से कुछ समझाना होता है। तो कैसे आप कैसी स्टोरीज यूज करते हैं? मतलब
Simple.
स्टोरी तो काफी वाइड हो जाएगी।
I'll tell you. Abhi,
तो
when
बस
I
एक एग्जांपल।
when I say story, it's not a story. It's storytelling. Okay, it's storytelling. So even if I have to give a vision, अभी किसी को आप अगर टीम में लाना चाहते हो, if you want to get someone on your team, what is that person looking for? Now there are multiple things that people look for. One is a good package. One is future क्या हो सकता है company में, or what you want to do. So my thing when I get anybody on board, if I want to convince someone to come on board, it's very simple. I want to tell them what is in store for them with the company. One. Second is what is the plan of the company in the future. So I will try to take them into the future and I will tell them how we foresee Wakao in 2 or 3 or 5 years. What do we see Wakao as? Today, if the person is applying for the post of area sales manager, so I will want to tell that person कि उसका job क्या है फिलहाल और मैं उनको कहाँ देखना चाहता हूँ after 2 or 3 years, and that is the kind of story that I would kind of weave and tell. It is about giving people hope. When you are hiring, always remember, as an entrepreneur, when you are hiring, you want to give people hope, and not a lot of people don't understand that. They think that ये package है, ये है, वो है. It's at the end of the day, each one wants hope कि my life is going to be better, or I'm going to learn more, or I will have a better standard of living, or I will be at a great position after 3 years. I will have my aspirations will be fulfilled. And what we want to say is that you don't worry, you come on board. This is the product that we have. We are in these geographies, but within the next 1 year, we want to be in this geographies. Today, you are looking at Goa, but I want you tomorrow to look at entire Maharashtra, Karnataka. I want you to head these regions. So, if you do well, if you perform, if you hit targets, tomorrow I will get another 5 people under you. Then you can look at a bigger role. You can do this. This is how we are going to, then maybe international. This is where we are going. So, you suddenly like transport them into a future which is possible. See, now I'm not telling you to bluff, and none of this is bluff. I'm telling you to give a realistic picture of where that person can go if he or she performs well and sticks to what the targets are, what the plans are. Then this is where they can get. And I genuinely believe that if I'm telling someone this, I genuinely believe it. So that is how I work. And that is the kind of storytelling that is required for an entrepreneur to hire great talent. Now, why will people come to you? One is if you pay a great salary, or if they see a great future for themselves, or if they have an opportunity to learn a lot. Depends on who it is. Someone who wants the salary will come for the salary, only for the salary. Someone who, there are sometimes, freshers who just want great experience, want to learn, want to understand. Because I get a lot of people who say that I want to be part of the founder's office. I want to learn. Then later on, maybe I'll look for a bigger job if I'm not happy or whatever. But abhi filal mujhe, I want to work very closely with you to learn the nuances of how a startup works. So what type ke bhi log hote hain. There are some people who are already getting a good package. They say, I want a better package, a better opportunity. Then you have those type of people also. Then it comes only on financials कि ये हो सकता है या नहीं हो सकता है. Now, if I want someone very desperately और उसका मेरा financials बैठ ही नहीं रहा है, then again storytelling comes कि how you want the company to grow along with that person, how you can give an ESOP, or how you can convince the person for a lower salary for some period of time till you grow, till the growth of the company happens, and then you'll increase the salary. See, if you want to convince someone who's come, for example, who gets a salary of 3 lakhs a month, you are convincing that person to come and join you for 2 lakhs a month. Why will that person come? Unless you can convince that person कि within this much period of time. I will not give you 3, but I will give you 4. But right now, come at 2. Let's together grow it to this. Then you will. And plus, I will give you some amount of ESOPs. I will give. So that is again, these are story. This is what I'm saying is storytelling. How you can convince and communicate and convince that team member of yours or prospective team member ki there is potential here. You have to convince them. And then today, the job market is very big. Although it is very competitive, but it's a big market. So if you want the right talent, you want the right people to come in, and you don't have the money to pay them that much, then you have to convince them to believe in your vision. The main thing is to believe in your vision, where even they will grow, and not only you. So I think, yeah, that's to answer your question. So this guy, Darsh, he said, please give some guidance on the way one should pitch his ideas. What are the manipulative and convincing secrets which will increase the trust of people whom we are pitching? So see, when you're pitching now depends on whom you're pitching to. If you're pitching to an investor, it's a different thing. If you're pitching to a consumer or a customer to buy a product, it's a different thing. Like I said, now I think I've elaborated a lot on pitching to colleagues or people who you want to hire. So now if you say you have to pitching to an investor, the one very clear thing here is an investor is putting in X and is hoping to make 100X or 1000X of that. Correct? Depending on the scale, maybe 10X in very high deals, but otherwise they really want to grow. If it's early stage, which most of y'all will be, is early stage. So an investor will want a good growth. Very simple. You have to only convince that investor how your concept can go from here to there. Now, in that storytelling, there are multiple ways in which you can tell. One is you can have references of different other people who have done something similar, or different trajectory that is there, in which you can create a storyline and say that how we can become the next that, how we can surpass that. That's again very important, how you can convince the investor. One very important thing you need to remember is that the investor normally bets in the founder. Okay, the idea is one thing, but at the end of the day, the idea has to be executed by the founder. So that investor is majorly, most of the investors that you talk to, they'll say that we are betting on the founder. And therefore, your story has to be communicated very effectively. अगर आप उनको ठंडे दिखे और if they think कि ये तो थकेला है, इससे नहीं होगा, then it's off there and there. So your body language, the spark that is there. See, if you are building something very passionately, that fire in your belly will be there and it will come across. Now, how effectively it comes across is again on your communication skills, on how you can be confident in talking to them. Don't try to manipulate them, because one thing about investors is that they are seasoned people. They are people who've seen thousands of people like you and me. So they can read through you. Don't try to manipulate them, because the minute they smell some kind of manipulation or something that's not correct or not true, you're off the radar. Because always remember that they have thousands of deals in the pipeline. They are talking to people like you and me by the hordes every day. So you have to be very clear what you're telling them is the fact. If you are not confused about what it is, then you say, keep, I'll get back to you. But don't try and bluff them. So that's very important. So you need to be very honest in your communication. You do not over commit, but don't under commit. Be positive. Show that you are positive. Show that your numbers, be very clear with your numbers, know your numbers well, and be very sure of what numbers you're putting and how you're going to achieve that. So these 2-3 things are very important when you're talking to an investor. As far as talking to a customer or convincing a client or a customer, it's very often said that don't try to sell a product or a service to a customer or a consumer. Try to sell them a solution. Tell them how you are solving a problem for them. If you try selling them a product, it's not going to help. If you tell them that ये फोन लो, ये आईफोन है, बहुत अच्छा है, मेरा बहुत अच्छा है, इतना मेगापिक्सल का, इतना है. इफ यू टेल देम कि आप जो फोटो खींचते हैं ना वो बड़े वाले कैमरे में, वो इस छोटे वाले से हो सकता है. पॉकेट में बैठता है, बैग नहीं लगता कैरी करने को, आपके ईमेल्स भी बहुत इजीली यहाँ से हो जाते हैं, वेरी यूजर फ्रेंडली. So, if you try and solve a problem for them and tell them the problem that you're solving, it's always better, and the chances of them converting are much, much more easier. Again, something that I had said at the start, no one buys products, they buy stories. They have to connect with you. The minute they connect with you, with the story. So I'll tell you one simple thing that it came up just like that, but I realized that this was a very important tool of communication for me. Jackfruit is eaten by everybody all across India. Uh, but if हमारी नानियाँ, like nannies, grandmother, dadis, moms, my grandmother used to feed us jackfruit and call it chikanachi bhaji. In Konkani, it's called chikanachi bhaji. Marathi, Konkani, chikanachi bhaji. Or in Hindi, literal translation is chicken ki sabzi. So, with this statement, it connects with so many people across India. जैसे हाँ, मेरी भी नानी यही बोलती थी, हमें भी ऐसे ही खिलाते थे कि चिकन की सब्जी बोल के जैकफ्रूट का खिलाते थे. That hits a chord, and that is somewhere there's an affinity to the brand. Like, you just feel something, you feel a nostalgia that comes. So you have to find these small hooks which are there in your business, and then use it to your advantage while doing this. So I think there are multiple things that ways you can convince your consumers and tell stories about your products. That will take a larger time, longer time, but you have to just think of what is the best way to communicate the solution to the consumer. Have you ever used dark psychology to convince people in your journey? Do you think one should use it if we are not harming anyone? To what extent do you believe in ethics? I know in today's world it's hard to follow 101% ethics to build an empire. What are your views? Thank you in advance. My God, very, very dark questions. So, see, one thing that I believe, in while building a brand and in communicating with your consumers, is you need to remain honest with your consumers. Very honestly, I'll tell you that. The more you're honest with them, the higher chances are of them liking you and being your cheerleaders. You have to remember, it is in the world, any good is not a one-time buy. You can trick your consumer into buying your product once, but the minute the consumer becomes your loyal consumer or becomes a fan or friend or follower of your brand, he becomes your seller. He starts selling for you. So the most important thing is to build brand loyalty, uh, is to gain the trust of your consumers. So honestly, I do not use any kind of dark psychology. I would not like any kind of pressure tactic or put them in a spot to buy my product. So even I'll give you an example. Like we sell vegan products. There is a very strong vegan community which is against animal cruelty and all of that. And if you see the PETA website also, they have a lot of videos of animal cruelty, and they'll do a lot of things which is also justified in a way. But my thing was very clear when we started this brand. I don't want to put one against the other. Oh, it's just because someone eats non-veg, I do not want to name call him or her. I don't want to put him or her down. Uh, we are a brand which is giving an option, and that was for day one. I didn't want to pressurize people or make them feel guilty or any of those sorts for them to make them buy my product. I want my brand is a very happy brand. It's a colorful brand. I want people to be happy, for them to like the taste of my product and want my product. And that's how we've been. And we've been very honest and clear about that and very transparent about that. So that's how we do, and that's how our thing works. Uh, One minute. Where's the other part of the question? Um, about ethics you are talking, right? Huh? You deleted your question. You were talking about ethics. I can't find that question now. But when you talk about ethics, 101% ethics are important. I wouldn't do anything unethical. I I, I believe that you get one chance to make an impression on people, on your consumers, on the world. Don't lose that chance, because once that trust of faith is gone, is gone. So people ask me, do you have, so my products are 100% preservatives free. And people say, would you mind doing something this that? So I say, I'm very clear. I'll only produce products that I am tension free feeding my son. I don't have any worries when I feed my son those products. I have a 5-year-old son, and I don't have any worries feeding him any product from Wakao. And I will never make a product that I would worry or I would not want to give my son. So for me, the quality of the product, the integrity of our brand is most important, and I will make sure that that is guarded at all times, and I'll never go off it. Yeah, Shreyas.
Um, I have a question actually.
Yeah.
Like, what are the measures do you ensure to make communication clear and effective with your team or with any of your colleagues, so that you can, so that they can understand your point perfectly?
So one thing that I say, always first to them is, there is no harm in asking me something that you've not understood even 100 times. But don't leave the room with a misunderstanding or with something that you've not understood properly. Don't presume something or assume something. That's the most important thing of communication. When you are communicating, so when we are sitting in a meeting, I always say that, have you all understood? If not, ask me again. I'm happy to explain it to you again. But don't go out with half information or by misunderstanding what I'm saying. So that's the first thing. So that what that does is that no one is then afraid or shy to ask you again till you completely break down and explain it in a proper way. So in that way, the message is communicated in the way it is supposed to be communicated. Firstly, second thing that you need to always remember is communication does not mean speaking in English. Okay. Communication is what it means being understood effectively. So if someone doesn't understand English that well, understands another language which you understand, speak in that language. So try and break it down and make it more simpler in that language. So if I understand Hindi, English, Hindi, Konkani, Marathi. These are languages which I can talk to. And if someone wants an explanation in this language in a way which I can to the best of my ability, I'll do it. Because for me, it's not about the language that I speak or how liquid English I speak or whatever. It is about the other person understanding what you're trying to say. So even with consumers, that happens. When you're talking to certain consumers, not everyone are English speaking, right? Now, a lot of our consumers are chefs in hotels, and not all now the executive chefs and all are okay. They speak, but they could be a low level chef who we are going to, उसे हिंदी में बताना पड़ेगा ना कि कटहल कैसे बनाते हैं, कटहल ऐसे बनाता है. फिर हम तो रोड साइड वाले ढाबों को भी बेचते हैं, तो उनको एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ता है. So it's about communicating. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So that's the second most important effective thing for communicating is your thought has to go across to the other person. That's most important. What language is immaterial. You can even draw and tell, but it has to pass on. That message has to go effectively. So I think, and as long as we don't need to speak in Shashi Tarun's English. Remember that. Again, communicating does not mean talking in the best polished English. Communicating is actually, in actual terms, communicating is saying in the most simplest way, explaining something in the most simplest way, simplest terminology, which goes straight into the head and someone will never forget. It remains, it creates an impact. Now, today, if I'm talking to you all, and if you all go back with something and which remains in your head and which will never go out. Now, that story that I told you all about Habu sir, how he called me and all, if you actually got transported and you went into a classroom in your head and you imagined Sairaj, a fellow student standing there and coming on stage and talking, if that happened to you, means I've effectively communicated. That is storytelling. So, that is important. You have to make sure that the other person is actually engrossed and is listening. That's why, I like looking at people, because I can look into the eye and talk. And I know when I'm losing grip of somebody. I know if somebody is losing attention, then I again communicate with them, get that person's attention. So that's the most effective quality of a good speaker, or someone communicates. Yeah, there are a few more questions which have come. Let's see. Just inspired by that unknown person's doubt, I would like to know that at what lucrative salary offer you would completely join him, and if convincing enough for you to leave the startup that you're building right now. Just no, bro, I'm not leaving my startup, and I'm not joining him for any money. I can join him for some advisory stake, nothing more than that or less than that. I'm not leaving Wakao. I have to make Wakao a unicorn. That's going to take time.
We have one more question in chat box, I guess, in personal chat. He's asking like, how do you structure your page? Like you must take some steps while structuring your speech before delivering it, right?
Speech.
So, now pitch your page. So, how do you structure your pitch? Any fixed template do you follow?
So you're talking about investor pitch, or just a pitch like today if I'm talking, or if I'm invited to any other?
Investor pitch, I guess. Investor pitch.
Investor pitch is normally there is a structure to it. There is a pitch deck that is presented. Uh, just very generically to tell you, it normally starts with introducing yourself, what you've done, what's your background, then how the idea came about, how you grew on that idea, then what was your early traction, where did you introduce the product or the service, what was the feedback there, then how did you go to find a product market fit, where did we start selling first, then how did that grow, how did you grow in geographies, how did your numbers grow, and then you get into the details of the numbers and the figures, and then you say that okay, we are at this position now. This, so when before that you said, you tell them your go-to market strategy. What was your go-to market strategy? How did you go about finding your consumers? Then where you are at right now, and what are the funds that you require? And once that comes, what are you going to do with that, with those funds? What is going to be your strategy post the fundraise? And where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 3 years? That's a normal process in which you normally pitch very quickly, just to tell you. Do you think it's important to be completely honest while selling your stories? See, one thing I'll tell you is that, again, you could take a few liberties here and there. But as far as the crux or the main character of your story cannot be fictional. The surroundings could be, like when you're talking about the quality or the characteristics of your product, that cannot be fictional. That has to be real. About when you're talking about how it can solve a problem, that cannot be fictional. It has to be real, because tomorrow they will buy it and they have to see that difference, right? Then they'll realize you are lying. We don't want you to lie, but like they say in movies, thoda masala chalta hai to make the story interesting. It is again that storytelling to make it thoda interesting, thoda dramatic. You can add a few elements here and there, but you can't change the character of the story. You can't change the main ethos of the story. I'll give you an example. Like at Shark Tank, I had made a very Sida Sada pitch, the 3 minute pitch that we had. But one day before I went on the show, Sony emailed me a new pitch. And the one which you heard on TV was the one written by Sony and not by me. And it was pretty dramatic, right? It was a little different. I could have never thought of that. But because it is Sony and they understand what television is, they did it. And I asked them, I said, do you think this will work? Because they had not added all the business points that I had, which I had in my pitch. So they said, see, Sairaj, these 3 minutes are for you to grab the attention of the audiences watching you and the sharks. All the other details about your business will come through during the rest of the pitch. You will be there for more than half an hour. So I was there for 45 minutes and they'll ask me every single question. So don't worry about that. We know what we are doing. So that was also a great learning for me, that you need to have a little masala, a little drama. It has to be a little entertaining. People have to get a smile on their face. They have to find it a little funny at times. Because that's when you add a human element to it and people are engaged in your storytelling. They want to hear it. Your personality also comes out with it. But be honest as far as your product and your services are concerned. Never play around with that. Have you always been this confident, or were there moments in your college life where it felt like everything is falling apart? What kept you going throughout your entrepreneurial journey? I don't have a lot of things in life. There are a lot of things that I'm not good at, and I have a lot of great people helping me in that. But there's one thing that I have in sizable quantum, and that is confidence. And I'll tell you why that has built. That has been built over the years. You're right. It was not. I was not always like this. I was a confident kid, but it happened like that first incidents I told you in 11th standard. There were many other incidences in life that happened where I was pushed out of my comfort zone. When do you start believing in yourself and your confidence? When you are put in a corner, you're pushed out of your comfort zone, and then you come out of it and you face adversity and you come out and you say that, okay, I survived this, man. I survived this, so I can survive anything. And that is what happens. To tell you honestly, very regularly you feel like everything's falling apart. And as an entrepreneur, though, you're feeling it every second day. It's a very tough journey. It's a very lonely journey. But you have to put a strong fight. There is no point now. As I talk to you, there are 100 issues behind my head. Tomorrow early morning, I have a 6 o'clock flight to Delhi. I'm going for an expo. Next week, I'm meeting some investors. After that, I'm going to Bangalore. I have so many things to do, so many things pending. Stock nahi aaya, ye nahi aaya. There are a lot of things in my head. But today, if I'm talking to you, I want to be my best. I want to put that best face before you all. Entrepreneurship is all about perception also. Always remember that. Because we are talking about communication and all of that, let me tell you, it's about perception. It's about the perception that you build. You can build a very sad perception if you want, that the whole world is bad, everything is going wrong. You can sit sad and you'll say that, Arey, he's so stressed, yeah, iska acha nahi chal raha lagta hai. But I can still be this, and I can say that, okay, theek hai, there are challenges, but I'm going to fight them. So then that whole thing changes, perception about a brand, about an entrepreneur changes. So when things are falling apart, I realized one thing. So, for example, when I was going on the Shark Tank stage, okay, 30 cameras, there's something called as a Jimmy, someone who's flying from the air like that, and shooting. The 5 sharks sitting there, that very intimidating music, and you're walking there. It's butterflies, it's so nerve-wracking. And just before my pitch, there were 2 other pitch. The founders got screwed by the sharks. They never came on TV also. They got screwed. And I was like, shit, I'm next. Are they going to do that to me? But you know what I thought to myself, and that's something that I always think, and that I want you all also to think. You'll be scared at times. You'll be really vulnerable. You'll be afraid. You'll have butterflies in your stomach. But always remember, like the Shark Tank incident, this was a lifetime opportunity for me. There'll be instances which will be life-changing opportunities for you. You have to just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say that, okay, this is my now or never turn. I'm scared, but screw my fear. I'm going to go out. I'm going to give it my best. I won't care what anyone is thinking about me. I will feel there's no one there. I don't care who's there, who's not there. This is my opportunity. I'm going to put my fears away and I'm going to go and face my fear, face my reality. And you do that. I'm telling you, you do that, you're a changed person. And that's the only way to fight all your fears and all your demons. Like if you have to go on stage, imagine you all are on that open air amphitheater, you're in the side wing, like how I was that day, 3,500 people sitting there. You're really scared. You're like, shit, अब ये जाना है stage पे, फटेगी मेरी. And then you say, screw it, man. This is my only opportunity. Let me do this. I won't care. You go on that stage, turn towards the people and say, good evening, everyone. Finish. That's it. Then you're in your own. That is life. And that is how it is. If you can get over that in like that 3, 4, 5 seconds of, okay, I'm going to do it. Nothing else. It's all here. It's all here. So always remember, if you are feeling scared, intimidated, just talk to yourself. Tell yourself, boss, don't be a fucking chicken. This is your opportunity. Go there. कोई कुछ बोले कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Go there. So always remember that. I got this dark psychology. I want someone. If someone wants to start their entrepreneurial journey right now, what advice do you give them to do or not to do from your? Why not to do? Do. Are you mad? This is Pradyumna. Pradyumna. This is the best time to be an entrepreneur in the country. There's no other better time than this. But only be sure of what you're building. Just don't get into it because it's a fad or because it's cool or because it's not cool. It's very tough. So be very clear of what you want to build, what problem you are solving, how you are solving. Do your research well. Make sure you've learned everything. Find the right mentors, find the right people to take help from. Build a good team. Just do it, man. Don't think.
Hello, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. This is Pradyumna this side.
Bolo
So,
Pradyumna.
what I was meaning is, you've made. I guess you've made some mistakes in your journey as an entrepreneur, which you would not want to repeat again. So, I mean, not to do. By not to do, I mean. So, what do you suggest the starters to not make the? To not repeat the mistakes you did.
देखा अगर क्वेश्चन मुंह से पूछोगे तो और क्लैरिटी आती है rather than writing it down. So see, very tough question to pinpoint and say what not to do, because everyone makes different mistakes, and unless you make mistakes you're not going to learn. So I had a lot of people who were there who told me a lot of things not to do and would still tell me a lot of things not to do, but I end up doing some other mistake only. So one thing that just generic, if I have to tell you, is that, like I said, don't become or want to become or try to become an entrepreneur due to peer pressure or due to sab kar rahe to mujhe bhi karna hai. Don't jump into it unless and until you have a very strong concept or a strong idea or a strong problem that you're solving. Take time to understand and validate that problem first. Don't jump into things. That's very important. Okay. So understand that. That is very important first. Other than that, one very important thing I'll tell you all is, as a founder, you need to know what you're good at. Correct? Very important. But you need to know with more clarity what you're not good at. And what you're not great at, no, don't try doing it yourself. Get good people to do it for you. Get professionals to do it for you. Because if you try doing everything yourself, you'll end up with mediocre stuff. And there's no space for mediocrity in this world. No one will tolerate your mediocrity. So get the best team. If not full hires, get consultants, get freelancers, work with people who are talented. That's very important. Share your wealth, but work with people who are talented if you want to create something really, really good. And yeah, so I think these are the few things that just generically I would like to tell you. I think that works, Pradeepa. From being from the very same college as yours. Oh my, I'm genuinely asking, what would you ever run? Would you ever run activism campaigns to promote veganism? Would you promote social trend to prevent animal cruelty, which would be a strong fuel to your startup? So see, we are honestly, no, we wouldn't do any kind of activism. We will support if there is a cause and they need our help in some way. We are happy to support and lend our support. But honestly, we are a business. We are a proper active business which is growing in different verticals. Today we are doing vegan stuff. We are doing jackfruit. That's one vertical. There are many more things that we could do, and there's nothing stopping us. We have a lot of more aspirations in doing different things, but activism is not one of our things, because we are not activists. We are all entrepreneurs. We are building something that will be valued by everyone. But we are happy to lend a helping hand to someone who needs our help, and to this cause to 100%. We are always there to support the cause. How to communicate effectively to a bunch of anonymous people because you don't know anything about them. Just the way I'm doing right now. It's almost anonymous. I don't really know you all other than some names which are there. Your names are here, but It's difficult to know who's what. But so there are two, three things here. Depends on whether you're replying to trolls. I think you should not engage with trolls who are just trolls out there to troll you. Don't engage with such anonymous people, because I'd rather not talk to them, because they don't have a face, they don't have nothing to lose. They're just there to troll you. There is nothing constructive that they want to bring out. So when that happens, then I don't want to engage with any one of them. I'll just ignore, and it's okay to ignore. Just ignore and be happy. But if there's somewhere you think that someone is shy to come forward or give out their real identity, but has a very genuine concern or a genuine question, then I'll answer it in the most honest way that I can. As long as the query or this is genuine, and it's not with an intention to troll or with some other mal intention. We are running out of time. Can we conclude? We are running out of time. Can we conclude? Yes, we can. But this may not be a question about public speaking, but more about general communication. Suppose there is a group of people discussing on a topic, however, you don't have a single thing on it. What do you do? How do you be a part of the discussion? Has happened to me many times. Good question, huh? Kaushal, good question. So, see, you can also be a good listener many a times. You don't need to always enter into every conversation and try and make your point and try and say something. Also, you know nothing about that. Sometimes, just wait for the right occasion, right moment. Let the conversation go on. Observe, smile, acknowledge, show that you're listening to them, you're learning from them. It's always because you are, right? Don't show as if you're not concerned or you don't know what the fuck. So be a part of that conversation, learn from them, observe, ask questions. So when you don't have anything to tell, ask. That will get you involved in the conversation. Now they are then talking to you directly, and they know that you don't know much, but they also acknowledge and they're happy that you're asking something. Ask something related to the topic, understand, and from there you can then start a conversation. That will then be the counter question with something that you have seen somewhere. That's a nice way of starting. Ask a question and then get on to it. I hope that helps, Kaushala. That's a good thing, but I'm telling you, it will work for me. Okay, Shreyas, chalo, we are running out of time. Thank you. I hope it was
Yes,
worth
thank you.
your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time as well. I hope it helped everyone, every insight and your stories about meeting with Ratan Tata or everyone. I
So
guess we can conclude.
one request to all of y'all is, uh, if you all don't mind, please follow Wakao Foods on Instagram and communicate with us. Tell us what can be done, because I know that you guys are smart kids. Y'all are ID Bombay. I want your feedback on what can be done to improve the content that is coming, because we are trying to work on some good content now. So that would be really nice. I'm happy to listen to your feedback. All of you can write to me at sairaj@wakaofoods.com. That's my email ID, sairaj@wakaofoods.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Let's be connected.
Yes, definitely. Chalo everyone, bye. Thank you for joining. See you in the next session, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir, again for your time.
Yes, thank you. I'm just
Bye.
going through the comments.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So let's just wait 1 minute. चलो ठीक है, thank you, see you.